Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's another edition of Let's Talk Buffs. Sitting here with Carter Dillon, back for our weekly show. Times are a little sporadic over here. I promise you, we're going to get on more of a consistent schedule. That's definitely our goal. But Carter, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. It's Friday. It's a good day. Buffs play tomorrow, so it's all good vibes over here.
Yes, sir. Whenever the Buffs play, it's a good day. That's kind of what I go for. I'm having so much fun covering this Colorado team, man. Um, But yeah, let's get straight into it, Carter. This was a big recruiting week for them. Not only the game, but like leading up to the game, all the news, everything like that. We had a big commitment today with Hudson, the Big D tackle. They said that UCF game wasn't going to help our recruiting. They said that wasn't for Prime. Those guys were all there to see the Knights. Clearly dead wrong. But, but give me your little insight here on Hudson.
Yeah, a bigger dude. Defensive tackle. We definitely need trenches. That's what they've emphasized, and we're starting to get it in the high school rankings. So he visited on the Kansas State weekend. 3-star flip from UCF. So another big commitment, and I expect we're gonna get some more leading into this weekend.
Yeah. Shorter D tackle from what I saw. He was only like 6'1",
6'1", yeah.
but we have one now, Chidoze, who is very similar, who's damn good. And then we're going to get into it. We're playing one this next week who is like an NFL player for sure in the Cincinnati game. All kind of similar height range. I see people kind of get, hey, that guy's not tall enough to be your interior defensive lineman. Man, let me tell you, if those guys, it's something a coach is what he's going to say from when you're a kid. The lowest male wins. And they just have this natural leverage that they're able to walk these offensive linemen back into the pocket with, or just control them in the run game. I don't think it's a bad thing. He's short at all. It's just like how much weight can you put onto that frame? That's mostly the thing. And that's something we're just going to have to see. But bring us more into this recruiting realm, Carter. It's a big week with the game as well. We have a lot of visits, so let us know about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got them all. Some of them don't get announced all the time, or they'll just post on their story that they're in Boulder. But it is a huge weekend, headlined by 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis coming back to Boulder again. He did not go to Indiana last weekend. I think he's supposed to go there for their Michigan game. So us, obviously, he's committed to USC, and Indiana are still in on him. This is big. I mean, hopefully this is the last time he comes to Boulder for a good reason on a visit. I would love to get this quarterback sweepstakes just swept up. And then we have 4-star CU commit Alex Graham coming back for another visit. He's been committed for a while. He's a corner. And then 4-star offensive lineman Carday Smith, who visited, I think it was the Baylor game. Carday Smith visited. He's committed to USC as well, along with Julian Lewis. He is going to be in town again. And then a 3-star wide receiver, Quentin Gibson. I don't think he's committed anywhere, but he's going to be in town. And then 4-star wide receiver Adrian Wilson. This is the one that's kind of got some headlines over the last night or so. He was offered. It came out that he was going to visit Colorado. Mm-hmm. Then he immediately decommitted from Arizona State, like 30 minutes later. And then after that, it announced he's got an offer. And then after that, he was logged a prediction to flip to Colorado. So it was just boom, 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 boom. So I'd expect a commitment from him. And then we also got a 5-star kicker on campus again.
Let's go.
So yeah, those are the main ones. I probably missed one, but it's pretty hard to keep track of those.
I'll be honest, Carter, the kicking stuff in the NFL, and I'm talking about the Broncos and stuff like that. So the Broncos go out there and they get like the most highly touted kicker. I don't care at all. In college football, this is a big deal. I need my kicker, bro, because there's just too many bad ones out there. There's too many where it's like, okay, we got to go for it on 4th because we're not within the 30-yard line yet. It's just not good. So yeah, that's a big deal. Obviously the Juju one is massive. That one's been rumored for Colorado for a long time now. That's a big build up to get here. I would have to think that USC's really tough start, 3-3, right? 500 ball club helps us out. If we can put on a dominating performance in this next game, it could happen, right? I think that's something that's more and getting more and more likely as USC is rattling off losses and Colorado looks better than what the national media and everybody thought they would be.
Yeah, this thing has got to be getting close to being done. I know Julian at first wanted to end his commitment and get all settled in before his senior season started. And he's also planning on being an early enrollee. So he would be enrolling like January of next year. So signing day, early signing day is the 4th of December. I mean, we are not that far away from that mark. So we got to assume that this is going to get wrapped up pretty quickly. And it'd be awesome if it gets wrapped up this week, because that means CU wins and Juju wants to be a Buff.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's get into the game for tomorrow. It's another night game. Carter was telling me before, like, I was busy anyways. This is beautiful. This is going to work out just fine for me. For me, though, Joey Richards, this is the worst. I hate it. I'm with Coach Prime on it. Who the hell is scheduling these things? I thought I got out of it when we left the Pac-12. I thought we were done with these late kickoffs and stuff, man. I'm so tired of it. But hey, you know what? But let's start off with the offense, Cincinnati's offense to be exact. Carter, what stood out to you immediately there that made you, think that, hey, this is something of note going into the game?
Yeah, their quarterback, he's not the best we've seen, but he's solid. And the way they like to dink and dunk their way down the field. They're kind of okay everywhere. I would say they have decent receivers, decent running game. They like to run RPOs, and Sorsby as a quarterback can run and will run. But one thing, he has 4 interceptions on the year. And he really loves, I mean, you could ask any quarterback, but he really loves working from a clean pocket. If his pocket gets disrupted, he's going to give you plays to make as a cornerback. I think a couple of his interceptions so far this year were underthrown deep balls that he kind of just put out there, and the corner just has to run it like a wide receiver. So it's not, they're pretty well coached, but definitely not the best offense in the world.
Yeah, I watched 2 games of their offense, all 22, just to go over it and see how he looked. Man, I was watching the Tech game. At the beginning of that game, I was sitting there like, man, I don't understand why everybody was trashing this quarterback so much on Twitter. Like, he looks really, really good to me. Then 4th quarter, end of the game starts rolling down, and it's like, whoo, that one wasn't fair. That wasn't it was just like more and more. It was like stacking up, and it was like, okay, I get people's point a little bit. You mentioned it. If you give him a clean pocket, he might dice you up. Like, he's accurate, and then he's also very decisive with the football. A lot of that is because he doesn't like going 1 to 2 or reading 1 to 2. He is one locked in guy. That's really what he is at this point. And he likes getting the ball out fast. So he does have some really good throws and some things he can do that I think I would say none of the other quarterbacks we've played can do, just like with how accurate he can be in these areas and how decisive with the football he can be in some areas. With that being said, you mentioned it. The moment that one is locked up or there's pressure in his face, other colors, the team's colors are flying in your eyes, he sees any of that, he just kind of just like malfunctions a little bit. Like, he really does. It's eyes down. I'm like not looking at the field anymore. I'm trying to run up the middle of the pocket, creating something, or just trying to scramble outside and seeing what I have there. It's very rare you actually see him go 1 to 2, and then you definitely don't see him go to 3 in his progression. So I think he's pretty good, but honestly, with what Livingston likes to do in those 3rd and long situations, and I mean, we've seen it even on 1st and 2nd downs this year where he'll just throw some crazy exotic blitz out at the quarterback. I think all of this points in CU's favor a little bit right there with the quarterback versus defense matchup of, hey, if we're throwing these crazy blitzes at you, how are you going to react?
Yeah, I was just gonna get to that. I think this is a great game to have Travis Hunter back healthy. Obviously, last week you get a big win. You're able to rest him for the second half. He says he's 100% coming into this game. I would expect Cincinnati to get a lot of cover zero, a lot of cover one, crazy blitzes, as you just said, thrown at them this week, and force their quarterback to make plays in a road environment under pressure every play. And getting Travis back, obviously, have a ton of trust in these DBs. Travis has been amazing. DJ's been great. Preston Hodge been good. And Colton Hood, too. You can throw Colton Hood out there whenever.
Yeah.
So big game for our DBs on this side of the ball if they can really lock down. And then, as always, stopping the run, you're going to be successful.
Here's a stat too. After I was watching the film, I started to notice that I like trying to look up stats that confirm what I was seeing and see if I was right in what I was looking at. Passer rating when clean for their quarterback is 120, which is even above Shador. His quarterback rating is 117 on the year, both extremely high numbers. Now here's where it gets crazy. Under pressure, that drops down to 48. QBR of 48 under pressure this year. It's just not good at all. It's really not good at all.
Start seeing ghosts.
Yeah. And I just think like the longer he holds onto the ball, the worse it gets. Now, Carter, how do you get him in scenarios where he has to hold on to the ball? You have to be able to stop the run. What did you make of that part of their game? Did you think it was all that impressive?
They like to. It was all right. They like to get to it in certain ways. I mean, they're not just going to straight up like they're not going to be nowhere near Kansas State, but they're going to run RPOs and get into different designed looks. Because obviously you can't throw the ball, but that's not really their main focus. They like RPOs, and Sorsby can run, and then they use him that way. Their running back is all right. I'd give it like a B minus.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, their running back breaks tackles, but I think his vision kind of sucks, if I'm being honest, from what I saw. I also thought their right tackle and left guard are kind of weaknesses. If we're looking at how you attack the Cincinnati defense, I think you kind of need to pick on that right tackle and that left guard. I don't think they looked good in any game I saw, um, especially in the run with that right tackle. He kind of got abused in the run. He's a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. So yeah, I think CU's defense will be able to limit this run. I would be shocked if this is a DJ Giddens Kansas State game. They just don't have those players. They don't have DJ Giddens, and I don't think they have the offensive lineman either to just bully CU. I just don't see that. They're going to have to pass the ball at some point. I just kind of want them passing the ball more so I can dial up those blitzes and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're I would compare them to Kansas State at this level. How DJ Giddens, obviously, I would consider them a star, but then apart from that, they're kind of just good all around. But Cincinnati, I would say, would be a step down from that. They're okay all around. They don't have a Travis Hunter. Like, they just have guys that they like just everywhere. And they haven't really played anybody good this year. They're ahead of CU in the Big 12 right now. And I expect that to not be the case after this week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's move on to their defense. The first thing I want to know, Carter, is just like, hey, this is a defense that runs their 3-3-5. We've seen that twice this season now in Nebraska, where Shador and the offense had their worst game of the year season. By far, it wasn't even close to worst game of the season. And then Kansas State, where they kind of bounced back offensively and they looked okay in some certain areas. The Shador looked okay passing. So that 3-3-5 defense, the idea is they just want to rely on their athletes. They're going to, you mentioned it before we hopped on, they want to drop back 8 into coverage. A lot of times, maybe even throw some blitzes that come from all different areas. Like, that's the idea of the 3-3-5 defense, is to be able to tackle in space and limit those playmakers and limit explosive plays. So how do you think, or what stood out to you for the Cincinnati defense, Carter?
Yeah, just that bend don't break style of defense. I think their style of defense matches up really well against CU if they can generate pressure with those 3 down linemen. If they find a way to get to Shador and pressure him, they don't even have to sack him. Just pressuring him with 8 in coverage, that would be a recipe for success.
Even 7, like if you can
Yeah.
get home with 4, like that's a win too. That's how you beat this Colorado offense. And Carter and I come on here every single week. People are like, do you blitz Colorado? No. You whoop their offensive lineman with 4, and you drop the rest in college in coverage. That's the recipe on stopping the Colorado offense.
Yeah, exactly. And like Joey said, they drop 8 into coverage at one of the highest rates in the country. And they got a big man in the middle. Dante Corleone, he's a stud. He just eats up blocks, man. It's like he makes that 3 down lineman really look like 4. The way he's huge. He's definitely going to get drafted. He's got a few sacks on the year. So I don't know if they can generate pressure, and who knows what offensive line we're going to see from CU. I mean, that's like a toss up any given week.
I was going to see 10 or 12 of them this game, Carter.
Yeah,
we might just run down the depth chart on how they do this, man. But yeah, I think that you nailed it with Dante Corleone. Like, that is probably the biggest one-on-one mismatch for Colorado in this game. I don't think CU has the players to just say we're stopping him. I think we need to really pay attention to this guy. And like, I just think that you need to pay attention to this guy. You need to give him a little more attention than you would your average defensive tackle. He's one of those shorter guys too. He's like 6'1", 6'2", and he's like 320 pounds. So he gets under you really well. And then he is just a block to move. And he's moving you more times than not, right? He's getting that big first punch. He's getting under you, and then you're kind of just at his will. And the run game, he's just going to stand you up, wait for the running back shed, make the tackle. The pass, he really just wants to run through you. Or a note I had about this defense is they're going to be doing a bunch of stunts. That's, I think, a given. And you will even see this guy, because he's pretty quick for how big he is, on stunts running around the edge and stuff like that. Like, they do all this crazy stuff up front. So CU's offensive line is going to really have to make sure to communicate this game, make sure that they're picking these up, because this has kind of been a struggle for their offensive line the whole season.
Yeah, if CU with their running backs want to find success in their game, they need to be running away from him. I would like to see a little bit more outside runs incorporated, maybe some slip screens to get their offensive linemen out so they don't necessarily have to block him every play. Yeah. But man, it's obviously tough to avoid a player like this, and I'm sure he's gonna get his every once in a while because he's just a good player, and that's you. I mean, it's so tough because I would love to get on here and say, hey, maybe this is the week CU's running game gets going, but it's really not gonna be.
It's a toss up, right? Who knows any given week. Other notes I had. Again, the 3-3-5 defense. So those 3 guys in the middle are usually bigger guys. Like, it's stop, run first, get after the passer second type guys, all 3 of them. And proof of this is if you look at who's leading their team in sacks on the year with 4.5, it's an inside linebacker. And that's just how these 3-3-5 defenses kind of work most of the time. You're going to get guys that go to the NFL, and you're going to have a guy that's a nose tackle, and then you're really going to have 2 guys that you're going to be scouting as 3 techniques. You're not having edge rusher guys that are going to go after the quarterback and get 10 sack seasons. Very, very rare in this type of defense. It's just not even what they're looking for at the position of these guys. So how do they get around that? It's with what I said, stunts. We might send a crazy corner blitz here and have guys rotating back to where the corner is. And I honestly, while they don't blitz too much, I thought they did a pretty good job of disguising it in times. This is when you want your quarterback to get under there and do some hard snaps so that these guys kind of have to show their defense, show the blitz. And then that's when you start to see these quarterbacks make checks and stuff like that. Yeah. Anything else on this defense? I have one more note.
Stunts so far this year with how much we've shifted this O-line has really been how teams have found success getting to Shador is throwing different weird looks at this offensive line that is sometimes not ready at the moment or doesn't have as much chemistry. So hopefully we figure the stuff out with the stunts. Obviously it's super tough, but that is how teams have found success against this offensive line.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're totally right there. Last note I have here is I thought their corners and secondary were pretty good. I don't think it was like amazing, but I thought it was pretty good. To the point where they're not afraid to just go, hey, we're running man coverage, beat us. I don't necessarily always think that's the way against CU for how talented they are at wide receiver. I don't care who the hell you think you have in the secondary. Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter, LeJontay Wester, Will Shepherd, list goes on, is really hard to just say we're covering you man on man. Of course, there's different types of man and stuff like that when they'll play around with that. But these one-on-one situations, I don't know, because I've seen it week after week. Shador will just give his wide receivers a shot. That's the main thing. Like, that's why that's scary to play against them is it really does sometimes come down to who's better, my wide receiver or your corner, because our quarterback's not afraid to say, oh, yeah, I think my wide receiver's better.
Yeah, and Shador has the ability to put that ball wherever he wants to. And there isn't a week that goes by where I don't trust Travis in a jump ball or LeJontay to outrun a corner. It's just a luxury that is awesome to have for Pat Shurmur and this CU offense.
Yeah, it's like, please, like it's a good note that I think their secondary is pretty good. With that being said, again, I'm not so sure the game at all comes down to what their secondary is doing. Just like every other week of the season, and I hate just being repetitive with it, it's going to come down to can CU run the ball? Can they pass protect? That's really what it comes down to week after week. It really doesn't even matter the opponent. And I'm going to continue to say it until both things are accomplished, right? I think the run game helps your guys pass protect. I think we have examples of this year even, but I don't know. It's just, it kind of is what it is. It's our biggest weakness. So you got to point it out.
And we're due for a game where Shador doesn't throw an interception too. He's had an interception in the last 3 games and some ugly ones. So we're due for a non-interception game. Speaking of their secondary,
Yeah, he hasn't had any good luck in that either. Like when he throws his turnover worthy throw rate is still very low. It's just he's been having one for like the last 3 weeks where it's like, God damn man, that one's crazy. Like that was intended for the other team type interceptions. He'll get over it. I think this is the week that he snaps back into that for sure. Just not having any interceptions, being very careful with the football. These are all things that are important and kind of is what made him to be the quarterback he is now and why everyone loves him so much. He'll take risks down the field, but he doesn't put the ball in jeopardy. It's kind of Aaron Rodgers-esque. That's what Aaron Rodgers was so good at in his prime, was pushing the ball down the field, being aggressive with the football, but never putting it in harm's way at the same time. Those two things usually don't go hand in hand, but for Shador, it kind of has. Do you have any more notes on this Cincinnati team before we get into score predictions, Carter?
Just pretty well coached. I think they're going to come into this game really hyped up. It's a late night atmosphere. Folsom could be rocking. They're obviously going to want to keep their Big 12 hopes alive. So I'm guessing they're going to come in amped up and ready to go. And this isn't a team. I do think CU is going to get this win, and I think they might do it pretty handily. But this is a team that, okay, they have a good play. Like, this is not a team you want to see get a lot of momentum because they'll just kind of run with it. And they're going to come in hungry for this one.
Yep, absolutely. It's a big game just in that I mean, if CU loses this, they're out of Big 12 championship hopes in my mind. So I think this is a must-win game, as so is the rest of this year for the Buffs. They should go in and win this game. I think they're the more talented football team. I think they have the better defense. I think they have more talented playmakers on the outside. I think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, if not the best, probably the best quarterback in the entire country. So they should go in and win this football game. But hey, we've seen crazier things happen. And I don't even want to say crazier things because I don't want to understate the Cincinnati football team. They're a solid team. Like it's not like you're going against a chump. I just think they are better. So give me your score prediction, Carter. What do you got there?
We are going to go with 35-17 CU. Double them up. Feeling good. Late night game. I was wrong about this last time, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good till I'm not.
All right. I like it. A little more optimistic than me, and that's totally fine. I'm definitely not picking Cincinnati to win, but a little more points. I'm going 31-24 for this game. Buffs win this. And I think it's a big win.
Barely cover.
Barely cover. Of course, I'm picking the cover, man. This is basically how I picked the score. Just kidding. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in today. Carter. Oh yeah, go ahead, Carter.
Want to give a shout out. Edge rusher Nikhil Webb-Walker announced today and well off that he was diagnosed with lymphoma. So let's talk Buffs. Me and Joey rooting for you, man. You've liked a couple of our tweets. So shout out to you, man. Wishing you the best recovery possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, can't understate that enough. Best of wishes, man. And to the 26 people in here, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Carter and I are going to go try to be live every Wednesday and then Friday before the games, and then he goes live for post games after the game. So 3 times a week we'll be on here. We'll get more consistent at this. I promise. This is kind of new. If you guys like the content, though, please leave a comment and let us know. Until next time, though, go Buffs.